Well, hey, what's up again? My name is Mike Hickerson. I'm honored to be the lead pastor of Mission Church. Now, for real, I am super stoked to be part of this church. I'm so grateful. Happy Father's Day if I haven't had a chance to say that to you. I mean, there are dads and stepdads and spiritual fathers and father figures and grandparents and coaches and uncles. Like, I'm just so grateful, so grateful. So will you just help me thank the fathers that are great fathers that are in this room and in this church and part of this church? Thank you. It's not easy. It's not easy to man after God's own heart and to have influence over the people that you can have influence on. And I'm sure there are no perfect people. In fact, no perfect fathers. In fact, except for God. One of the things that we talk about around here, there are no perfect people. So we know there are no perfect fathers. And maybe this is your Father's Day gift to your dad and you couldn't say it, but now you can say it. And you can just want to look to him. So turn to the people next to you and just say, hey, you're not perfect. So, all right. So just turn to the people next to you and say, you're not perfect. They're going to look at you and say, you're not perfect. And now that we've got that out of the way, we can enjoy ice cream sundaes and we can enjoy a barbecue, that we just got the baseline, that there are no perfect people. Don't remind them tonight, later, when you're in a fight. Don't do that. It's helpful to do as a church together to remind each other that there are no perfect people because there's only a really perfect God who rescues and saves. And that's where our hope is. Our hope isn't what we've done. Our hope is what God has done for us. And he sent Jesus into the mess to rescue and pay for our rebellion so that we could be established as much as sons and daughters. That's good news for us. That's where our hope comes from. That's what we cling to. And so in the fact that there are no perfect people, but there are some really perfect dad jokes. And I don't get to use those publicly very much. So I thought that I would just go through a couple of them just for fun. So there's no perfect people, but these are good. I always knock on the fridge door before opening it just in case there's a salad dressing. Please don't unfriend me. Don't unfriend me. That's good. I saw this one too. I love this. Did you know that Mortal Kombat is actually based on an old Scandinavian church song? Wait, really? Yeah, finish him. So there you go, right there. So that'll make sense later. It's fine. You can groan if you want to. You don't have to laugh. It's fine. Apparently one guy quit. So that I just think that's funny. That's just for me. It'll make sense later. It's fine. It's outdated. You're fine. You don't have to know that. So here we go. Anytime a dad sees a crisscross pattern, this is the reaction right there. It is. They don't know what to do with it. I like this one a lot too. So a recommendation, where's the best place to get scrubs? Apparently it's the passenger side of his best friend's ride. That's what we want right there. If you don't know what that is, Google it. You'll be good. That'll be fine. That's where they all come from. So I love dad jokes. I am one, so I get to use those, and I get to wear socks as high as I want to whenever I want to with sandals. That's fine, because I'm a dad. I have that right. We interviewed some kids about what they loved about their dad around here, so check this out.
I don't know. 44. 43. Somewhere in the 20s or something. I think 21. I think somewhere in the 30s or the 20s or something. That should be sushi. Hamburgers. Chicken nuggets. Burritos. Meat. Sushi. Maybe tacos or burgers. Tacos. He grabbed chopped up and white either. My dad always takes me to the park. Maybe taking me to lunch. Yeah. He plays with me, play wink with him, cuddle with him. He takes me on adventures. Probably play games with him. He wakes me up in the morning, kind of doing a happy face and messing around with me. When we have burgers, he pretend to put ketchup in his mouth. The leg tar. No. Say funny word. voices. Hello! He dances and steps. He gave me the hugs. Maybe because he picked me up from school. He makes food for me and he cares for me. Because he knows that he gives me snuggles and stuff. That he's always playing with me. He just loves me. Done?
Done, she said. So done. We're in this series that we're starting, or the second week of a series called One Another's, and it's been crazy as we're thinking through all the one another's that we have in our life, right? We got friends and roommates and neighbors and coworkers and a boss or an employee and a spouse or a boyfriend or girlfriend, hopefully not multiple ones of those things at the same time, or children or stepchildren or some foster children or grandchildren or parents or step-parents or grandparents or in-laws. And then we've got the rest of the annoying people in the world that we have to one another. You mean like the people in the traffic line, the people in the drive-through line, the attendant on your flight, people on the other side of your social media. Yeah, those people. We have one another's everywhere, and we all have to one another every day. And apparently, maybe you're just figuring this out, it doesn't always go perfectly. Bless you. Apparently it doesn't always go perfectly when we're one anothering people, because the amount of money that we collectively spend on marriage books or parenting resources or dating apps or leadership or management books or workplace culture secrets or conflict resolution all have to do with the fact that we struggle with one another, but we're called to one another all the time. And maybe you need to figure this out. If you're not a Christian, you may not understand this, but as Christ followers, and as people that are part of a church, not the building, but the people that God has called us to be, this is supposed to be one of our trademarks of doing well. We're supposed to be awesome at one anothering. It's one of the things that Jesus called us to. We're supposed to be known for. We're supposed to be a market leader in it. Not because I say so or it would be nice, but because Jesus commanded us to. He said, a new command I give you, love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. There's over 125 one another's in the New Testament, the front part of our Bible, that we are commanded as followers of Jesus that have been rescued to be really great at one anothering. But we ain't. It's bad English, but it's true. And if this season that we've been in has taught us anything, we got to go back to the basics of what it means to one another, because we are imperfect and we're in relationship with imperfect people. So we're going to walk through in this series. Our hope has been to either start, resume, or accelerate 3 one another's that would change our world. If all of us, not just followers of Jesus, but every single person, if we would do this, our lives would be better, our relationships would be better, we would be more productive in our workplace, our reputations would be more positive, our influence as leaders or coaches would be deeper, our dialogue would be more constructive, our communities would even be a nicer place to live. So this is for everyone, not just for Jesus followers, but for Jesus followers it is doubly important, because this is what we're called to one another well. And these are the one another's we've been talking about, that we've got to get good at one anothering and forgiving one another. I didn't want to do that. It's awesome when I need it. I don't want to do that for one another. And if you missed last week's message, it's one of the best messages on forgiveness I've ever heard. Go back and listen to it. I have it on repeat for your head, mind, heart, and soul, because we all need to get great at one anothering and forgive. Today we're going to talk about building one another up, specifically with the way that we use our words. And we're going to talk next week about loving one another, about the way that we've been called, like Jesus called to, that we need to be really good at willing the good of another by loving one another, giving up ourselves for other people. And I don't know if you realize this. If you're in Gen Z, I love you. I'm for you. I'm helping raise a couple of you in my home. But there used to be no internet. I know. So I remember I got my first email address when I was in college, and it was a Hotmail address. Anybody remember those days? Hotmail, you still got it? Okay, there we go. Snail mail. We used to have to write words on a piece of paper and put a stamp on it and to send it to someone. We had phones on walls with cords, and that was the only phone that we had, and it was always in the kitchen. And when you got call waiting, oh my goodness, it changed your world, because you could accept the call while you were on the phone. I know that's crazy that you don't even realize that, but you still had to stay connected to the cord on on the wall. You had to go to someone's house to have a face-to-face conversation. You couldn't hit a button on the microcomputer in your phone, right? It was weird. If you wanted to see somebody, you had to drive there or fly there and knock on their door and open the door and see them. It was crazy how we used to do relationships. And news, this will blow your mind. News used to come in a folded piece of paper on the driveway or porch early in the morning, every morning. You couldn't just get it whenever you wanted it, however you wanted it. I know it's crazy. I don't know if you figured it out, but in our one anothering, we consume more words than we ever have before. Let me show you these stats that I found as I was looking this week. So these are the words that we consume. There are 306 billion emails that we consume, 4.5 trillion texts, 500 million tweets, 525 million hours of Netflix. And that's just in Ventura during the pandemic. I'm kidding. 2.5 quintillion, it's not quintillion, quintillion bits of data. That's like 2.5's 10 to the 18th power. That's 10 with 18 zeros. That's a lot of zeros times 2.5. That's a lot of data, a lot of words that we're consuming. And this is the average that we're consuming humans in a day globally. We have more words than ever before that we consume and use. And we pay less attention to them than we ever have before. So if we're going to get really good at building one another up the way Jesus commands us to do it, then we got to get really good at using our words for each other, not against each other. So Proverbs 18:21, the wisest guy that ever lived, wrote this. And I know he's the wisest guy because the Bible says he's the wisest guy that ever lived. So I'm just going with God on this one. You may be really smart. I'm going with God on this one. He says this: the tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruit. And we know this down deep where we really live, that we have words that they're powerful to bring the words of life or to bring the words of death. We don't just have content with our words, but there is power in our words. Our words have the power for what we can speak in a moment, in an instant, or in a moment's heart, or in a note, or in an email. We can crush somebody with our words, or we can like help someone's heart soar with our words. Is that we can speak, and just in one sentence, we can have confidence or cripple them with insecurity with just words. We can give someone an incredible sense of worth and value, or plant them in shame and worthlessness with just the words that we use. We can draw someone closer, or we can push them away with just our words. We can bestow dignity, or we can bestow degradation. We can surround someone with support with our words, or we can isolate them with opposition just with the power of our words. And we have more words that we experience than ever before, but we pay less attention to them. We start thinking back, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Not true. There's a lot of fractures that we've overcome. But most of our biggest childhood wounds, most of our biggest pain that we're overcoming were the words that somebody spoke to us that are still locked in there. And some of our biggest moments of identity and moments of swell and moments of pride and moments of definition are the powerful, positive words that someone spoke at just the right moment in our life, that God used at just the right moment to speak life into us. Words are powerful if we're going to build each other up. In fact, I was doing a little research and I saw this, that 7 years ago, the Harvard Business Review published an article trying to figure out the ratio of what it meant for positive words to negative words. And they found that in marriages, and this one psychologist named John Gottman said he determined that there was a strong correlation between a ratio of a strong marriage between positive words and negative words. Or I would say, the way Solomon would say it, between death-giving words and life-giving words. That we're going to say. And you won't believe what they said, that in a marriage, it's going to be strong. We can tell with about 94% accuracy if that marriage is going to work if we have the ratio between 5 positive words to 1 negative word. They can say that marriage is destined for success 94% of the time with just this part of their marriage figured out. 5 positive to every 1 negative. They said that this will blow your mind, this will blow your marriage mind. Can you imagine how our marriages would look, how our relationships would look if we erred on the side of 5 positive words to build somebody up versus to every 1 negative word that we said? 94% accurately, they predicted 94% accurate that marriage would be strong and stay together. And then Workplace got a hold of the Harvard Business Report, and they're like, they nailed it. Like Gottman nailed it. Like if you want a high performance team, you want an amazing, successful team, you want to have like things in common, you want to like work together, you want to be on that team, you want to have a thriving team in your workplace, it always is 5 positive words of encouragement to 1 negative thing, an area of opportunity that you want to say. In fact, 5.67 would say that most high performing teams will be able to flourish if they have 5 to 1 positive, negative comments because they're building each other up. And then the child psychologist got a hold of it. They're like, you want to know, this is crazy. You want to know what the best environment for a kid to grow up in, for their growth, for their motivation, for their self-esteem? You know what the best positive encouragement we could do? 5 positive words in the home to every 1 negative word in the home. Not that we don't correct, not that we don't warn, not that we don't guide, not that there's not consequences, but there is such a value of building someone up, our kid up in our home, that when the time comes to do this, we have the chips because we've already built them up and they know that we love them or for them. 5 to 1. And what was really crazy is that these were only the best of the best marriages, the best teams, the best homes. This was the ideal if we could do this. And then they went on in the study. It was kind of a gut punch, and you were probably already there with me. You have what the average is, what we normally experience. If you're like the rest of us, like most of us, we normally experience this. 3 negative words to every 1 word that's positive. And those words have power if you've experienced them, and they get locked in. But most marriages, most relationships, on average, not the ideal, we have 3 negative to every 1 positive. And it's hard to build somebody up when it's 3 to 1 the opposite way. Most workplaces, most teams, 3 to 1 the opposite way. It's hard to build somebody up like we're commanded to when you're always tearing them down. Most homes for kids, 3 negative to 1 positive. But what about you, personally? And what you can control? Where you live, work, and play? What God has called you to? Could we be somebody that builds each other up like we're commanded to? In fact, it says this in Ephesians 4:29, do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths. And it's not talking about like, your diction. It's talking about the fact like if we're always tearing people down, we can't build each other up. It says, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen. It's not saying you can't think things that you want to say, because we all think things that we want to say all the time. We have this thing that it comes right here, and we have this filter coming out here, and we've got to go, okay, is this a build-up thing, or is this a tear-down thing? Is this a words of life thing, or is this a words of death thing? Is this going to help them according to their needs thing, or is this going to help me feel better because I got to say it and tear them down thing? Like we all have those things. Maybe for me, it doesn't start right here. It starts in this area, in the gut, and goes all the way up my spine and gets to my head, and it's really funny and really true and would win the argument and super sarcastic and it's good. Like it's right. It's all right here. But I've got to say, if I want to be a part of the solution of one anothering well, then I've got to say, is this useful to build them up? Or is this just layering on negative comments to every positive? We got to say it. We got that filter every time. I'm not going to let it out. I'm not going to let it out. Not today, not to them, not to him, not to her. Not going to let dead words come out of my mouth. Not going to let words that lead to destruction come out of my mouth, because I want to be part of the solution of one anothering people towards life and not despair. But we also have those words that we withhold that are good words, that are life-giving words. And we're like, well, they know. I'm telling you, dads, you know this. Families, you know this. Bosses, you should know this. Employees, coaches, like we want to not withhold the words that bring life. We have a tendency to always want to spew the words that bring death and negative words. We need to get really good at one anothering and say the things that we see in other people, because you have no idea how God will want to use that in someone's life as an anchor point of life for them. So you withhold the negative, and you learn to let go and lead with the positive words, because they have massive amounts of impact on our world. Remember what's at stake, that you and I would be doing this, that we would build each other up, that we want to bless our kids with positive words for their life. We want to bless our spouse or boyfriend or girlfriend with positive words in their life. We want to bless our friends with positive words in their life. We want to bless our family members with life. We want to bless our coworkers with life. We want to bless our neighbors with life, our community with life. This isn't just what nice people look like, although it would be better if all of us did this. This is what followers of Jesus that have been rescued are commanded to do to one another and for one another, to build each other up. So we're going to choose life-giving words. We're going to take up that challenge to one another well. And I hope that we can be the kind of people that flip the percentages in what we control. Are you going to go 3 to flip it in one day? No. Can you get progressively better and going, I need to build one another up and tear one another down, filter in my mouth so that it doesn't come out and wound, but it comes out and brings life? We can work on that. We can do a little bit more today, tomorrow, next week, next year to be one anothering well in our build up category versus our tear down category. 1 Thessalonians 5:1, this is the command that we would live with. Therefore, encourage one another and build each other up, just as in fact you are doing. This shouldn't be a guilt-inducing thing. You have places, I have places in our world where we could choose to speak words of life and build each other up, and choose not to speak words of death or harm that tear each other down. Let me end with this. You have no idea what a word from you could do to build someone else up. So don't withhold your positive words to build each other up. Don't withhold your positive handwritten note. Don't withhold your positive email. Don't withhold a positive conversation. You have no idea what a word from you could do to help build somebody else up in your world. Are you perfect? No, we've already established that. Do they know that? Yes, they already know you're not perfect. It's not a secret to anyone else. But what you could do with your words from this day forward is build one another up. And you have no idea what a word from you could do to tear someone down. So we're going to put a filter on how we want another, because we want one another really, really well. May we take this challenge today, all of us. Why don't you pray with me? God, you are good and you are great. And we need your help with this. We know we are commanded to one another well. We know it's a hallmark of what you've called us to. But on our own power, we just aren't very good at it. So would you graciously and kindly continue to remind us who you've called us to be and how you've called us to live. And God, would you let our words be useful in building one another up? God, would you limit our words that are useful for tearing each other down? We know we're not perfect, but God, would you give us grace and help us one another well? In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.